My name is Erin Lockwood. I'm an assistant professor in the Department of Political Science, and I'm coming here from Northwestern University, where I just finished up my PhD. My current research looks at the global market for financial derivatives, which are these complex, opaque, very obscure financial products that played a significant role in the global financial crisis of 2007 to 2009, and that there have been very few changes in terms of how they're regulated and managed following the crisis, which I think is kind of surprising given the prominent role they played in that event and the extent to which the financial crisis affected not just people on Wall Street, but really almost all Americans and many people around the world. So my research looks at how that market got as big as it did. This is a $600 trillion market, which is just sort of unimaginably huge. It's hard to wrap your mind around that. So I'm interested in how it got that big and how it got that big with so little public oversight and public regulation. And I'm also interested in why those conditions, the size of the market and the lack of regulation, have to such a significant extent persisted following the financial crisis. And from this perspective of political science, I think this is just a fascinating social phenomenon to study, because as technical and as quantitative as it is, it also depends on financial market participants managing to convince politicians and members of the public that what they're doing has an important place in society and that they're capable of managing and governing themselves despite evidence to the contrary sometimes. And so I'm really interested in the processes by which this market comes to be seen as a legitimate and important piece of the global political economy, even as we have increasingly recognized that it's also a huge source of risk and uncertainty in that market. I decided to come to UCI because there's an absolutely fantastic Department of Political Science here. They're open to a range of methodological approaches and theoretical approaches, which is really important to me because my work, although it focuses on a really technical, quantitative field, is actually coming from a qualitative and interpretive perspective. I'm interested in how this market was constructed and how it's legitimated. And so it's important to me to have colleagues and faculty who are receptive to that and whose work also sort of draws on similar methodological and theoretical strategies. The weather doesn't hurt also in terms of my decision to be here. I grew up in Laramie, Wyoming, so I've spent some time in the West, but not on the coast. And I've also spent time in Chicago and Washington, D.C., and in London. I moved here with my husband and our cat and our dog. We're settling in well.